Long before self-sufficiency became a trend, it was simply a necessity. In the 1950s, if you wanted a rake that could handle both heavy hay and fine soil, you didn't buy it, you built it. Welcome back to the workshop. Today, we're revisiting the era of total self-reliance to craft a wooden double-sided rake by hand.
Rake making used to be part of rural self-sufficiency and was an important secondary income for the poor rural population of Ruhrberg in the North Eifel. Up until the 1950s, almost half of the inhabitants were employed in agriculture and forestry. However, most farms had no more than 5 hectares to cultivate. The stony soil is not very fertile and is only suitable to a limited extent as arable land. The natural landscape in the valleys of the Ruhr Lake area is characterized primarily by oak and hornbeam forests. The types of wood that the rake maker needs for his work also grow here, for example, the hazelbush and the basket willow. These light types of wood are used to make the rake handle and the rake teeth. Together with the farmer Nellison, the trained carpenter Ludwig Lauscher demonstrates once again the rake-making trade as practiced until the end of the 1950s. For the rake handle, you need a forked branch of the hazelbush. The reddish-white wood is easy to work with. One strikes the flexible wood with the hup. This 20 to 35 centimeter long hewing knife is also used to clean the branch. Then the piece of branch is shortened to body length. Because of its fork, the branch is also called a forka. The forks vary in length. The rake teeth are made from the wood of the basket willow. The material is soft and easy to work with.
Ludwig Lauscher only made the rakes for his own needs, while other Ruhrburgers operated rake making as a secondary income alongside agriculture. One of them is Bernhard Nellison, who is processing the cut forked branches here at the fireplace. To be able to better remove the bark from the branches of the hazelbush, the rake maker lays them in a bed of embers. With the Schnickmetz, a small carving knife, he peels the already cooled forks. The heat of the ember bed also serves to soften the already flexible wood. The crookedly grown branches can thus be bent more easily, resulting in a straight handle. Sometimes the embers leave burn marks on the finished forks. In the meantime, Ludwig Lauscher has begun sawing the willow trunk into individual pieces of wood for the rake teeth. He measures 22 centimeters for each so that the pieces of wood have a uniform length. The finished rake teeth will be about 18 centimeters long. Bernhard Nellison splits the pieces of wood with the hep on a chopping block. Depending on the thickness, he gets 8 to 16 parts from one piece. Before the Second World War, unemployed youths often collected the willow trunks and forks in the forests. For pennies, they sold the wood to the only full-time rake maker in Ruhrberg, who offered the goods in Aachen and the surrounding area. The peak of Ruhrberg rake production was in the years of hardship between the two world wars. At that time, almost every second household produced double-row rakes during the winter months. Many covered their own needs with this or supplied relatives and acquaintances. Others sold the rakes on a larger scale during the spring and summer months. Bernhard Nellison, for example, transported 10 to 20 rakes at a time on one tour with his bicycle to the surrounding villages and offered them for sale. The bagged wood and the bundled forks are now brought by the two rake makers to the home workshop for further processing. The two rake makers now manufacture the rakes together in one workshop, which was otherwise not common, to illustrate the further steps for the film.
The rake maker shapes the rake teeth on the cutting bench, the shaving horse, using a draw knife to achieve a specific thickness. By stepping on the pedal, the tooth is clamped firmly between the lower support and the upper movable part, the head. In craft and farm workshops, the shaving horse was the universal tool for wood processing. The teeth remain somewhat square here, so that they later have a better hold in the rake head. For the rake head, into which the teeth are inserted, the rake makers use hard hornbeam wood. On a 70 to 75 centimeter long and 2 to 3 centimeters thick plank, Ludwig Lauscher marks the width of the plet, as the rake head is called in Ruhrberg. The plank is clamped firmly to the workbench with a bench hook. Using a greased frame saw, the rake maker cuts the wood into individual plates.
Using a brace, the insertion holes for the rake teeth are drilled at a pre-marked interval of at least 3 centimeters. The number of teeth ranges between 15 and 24 pieces, depending on the type and size of the rake. Subsequently, the rake maker drills 2 holes for the fork of the handle.
The 2 conical holes are then hollowed out further with a spoon bit. On the shaving horse, Ludwig Lauscher bevels the ends of the rake head with a handsaw. With the draw knife, he straightens the plate, pointing the rake head in the process. Cutting off the side edges of the plate is referred to as breaking the edges. The rake head is finished. Now the fork and the teeth still need to be processed and inserted. The rake maker peels the forks on the shaving horse. With the draw knife, he sharpens the handle at the upper end. This allows the rake to be easily stuck into the hay or ground during a work break in the hay harvest. The handle is also cleared of protruding branch knots so that its surface is smooth and sits well in the hand. Here, Bernhard Nellison is already preparing the fork. Similar to the teeth, the forks are sharpened to a square shape with the draw knife in order to fit them well and firmly into the 2 conical holes of the rake head. The rake maker finally adjusts the teeth to the hole size using a carving knife. Next, he hammers the teeth into the rake head with a hammer, starting in the middle. After every tooth, Bernhard Nellison turns the rake head over and drives the teeth in alternately. This procedure contributes to the stability for which the Ruhrberg rakes were famous. Using an unfinished rake head, he marks the final length of the rake teeth. Then, Bernhard Nellison shortens the teeth with the draw knife. First, he roughly processes the inserted teeth from left to right. The fine finishing then takes place in the opposite direction. Only during this step does he shorten the teeth to a uniform length and sharpen them at the same time. He repeats the same process on the other side of the rake head. If a rake tooth breaks off during the hay harvest, it can easily be replaced by a new one. The rake maker inserts the fork into the rake head and drives the two parts firmly together with a hammer. After that, he nails the fork tight. Bernhard Nellison saws off the protruding fork ends with a handsaw. Finally, the rake maker tests out the finished rake. The special features of the Ruhrberg rake lie in its easy handling due to its low dead weight and the diagonally attached double-row rake head. The hay can be raked together and turned with both sides of the rake. That means you don't need to rotate the rake. Both left and right-handed people can use it. Even in the 1950s, rakes were still made as cottage industry work in the Eifel village of Ruhrberg. But with the decline of farms in the North Eifel, rake making as a secondary trade also fell almost into oblivion.
It's amazing to think that a rake made from a hedgerow branch could outlast the ones we buy at the hardware store today. I'm curious, do you think these traditional wooden hay rakes are actually better to use than modern plastic or metal ones? Or is this just nostalgia talking?
I know many farmers swear by the weight and balance of wood. Let me know your experience in the comments below.